Saturday will mark the 10th year that my high school sweetheart and fiance, Debbie Beck, passed away from breast cancer. And I wanted to read a couple of the chapters to commemorate her passing from the book that I wrote called Love's True Second Chance. That is the book. Chapter 1, The End. July 20th, 2009, 7 a.m. I held her hand and kissed her face with the arrival of a sunny, beautiful morning, hoping for a miracle. The shift change is in full swing. Staff checking in, charts being reviewed, doctors and nurses exchanging information, vital signs being verified. Debbie's breathing is labored, as it had been for the last 24 hours. I never knew if each breath would be her last. The cancer is running its course through her beautiful body at a terrible pace. An aide came in to change the sheets and clean her up. She asked if I would like her to wash Debbie's hair. I pondered the thought for a minute, looking at the love of my life, and replied in a hushed, choked tone, "She would like that. How long will it take you to change her bed and wash her hair?" She said about 15 minutes. I stepped out of the room and called her friend Kathy to get an estimated time of arrival. She assured me she would be at the hospital within 30 minutes. Debbie's in good hands with the aide. I decided to get some air, purchase a Coke, and have a cigarette. I went to the store with one thought running through my mind. Is there anything else I can do for her? Had I done everything I could for the love of my life? Would God sit by her side and let her live out her life on earth, or whisper in her ear and take her hand and guide her to heaven? I had no control over what was happening to her. Kathy arrived at the hospital room at 8:50 a.m. She'd been detained by her hubby, who was in the process of coming home from Alaska after a 3-month tour with the railroad. She called looking for me. I told her I was downstairs having a smoke, would be up in a few minutes. She said Debbie is doing fine. My gut told me different. Something had changed. There was something in the air which didn't feel right. I hurried back into the hospital. The elevator took an eternity to reach the 3rd floor. I rushed down the hallway with a sense of urgency and hesitancy. I entered the room. Kathy was standing to the left of the bed. She asked how I was. I never responded. Her labored breathing had stopped. "Kathy, how long has she been like this?" She heard the concern in my voice and saw the look of worry on my face. She moved closer to the bed, put her fingers on Debbie's right wrist, checking for a pulse. She wanted to believe she felt one. I laid my hand on her warm chest. It wasn't moving. The pain in her face was starting to subside. I believe Kathy said she was going to get a nurse. All I could do was rub her chest and stroke her hair. Tears were starting to fall from my eyes. The nurse came in and slowly moved me to check for any sign of life. Without a word, she exited the room, looking for the doctor on call. He entered the room with the nurse. They both checked for signs of life. The doctor slowly turned, looked me in the eye, placed his hand on my right shoulder, and said the words with as much compassion as possible. "I'm very sorry. She's gone." I digested his words and began understanding the depth of our love. My heart didn't break. It literally shattered into a million pieces. I turned towards Kathy and collapsed into her arms, crying uncontrollably. Our 30-year love affair was over. I met Debbie in 1977 at Memorial High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She was in the band and I was in the band. And we started dating, and it lasted a year and a half until I went to Oklahoma State. This is a picture of Debbie. I went to college, and our relationship didn't last, and there's more about that in the book. But our time together lasted 7 months, and it was the most wonderful 7 months I can ever remember, because not only did we get to finish what we started in high school 30 years later, but we were put together at a time when we both needed each other. She reminded me and taught me a very important lesson that I had forgotten, that I needed to work to live and not live to work. Because for a very long time, that's all I did. Work was more important than anything except my kids. But when I got with her, I was working. When we reunited, I was working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, loving what I did. But when we reunited in January of 2009, within a month, I realized, yeah, the job's important and I've got to pay my bills, but there's something even more important, and that is spending time with Debbie and her two girls. And I would do that again in a heartbeat. It's like I said, it's been 10 years since she's passed. Not a day goes by that I don't think about her and cherish the time that we had together. Tomorrow I will read another chapter, and I hope you join me.